Hi class, today our lesson is converting fractions to decimals. This is found in Swun 7-4 and 7-5. Our learning goal is today I will write a fraction in decimal form and place it on a number line. So first we have to go over our vocab. Decompose a fraction, that's to break down into smaller parts. So if I have 48 100ths, I'm going to break that down into smaller parts. So I have 40 hundredths plus 8 hundredths. Okay, if I have 48 hundredths in decimal form, listen to how I'm saying it. I'm saying 48, and I need to make sure it's in the hundredths place. So if I'm looking at my place value chart, I have I'm gonna put a decimal there. I have my tenths, hundredths. So I read this as 48 hundredths. So if I have 48 hundredths, it equals to 48 hundredths. Be very careful to how you would read a decimal in the place value for where you're placing it. And then our final vocab word is convert, to change form without changing the value. So I converted from a fraction to a decimal. Both are 48 hundredths. I did not change the value. Okay, we have some new steps today. First one is to decompose the fraction and write as tenths and hundredths. Second one is to write the decomposed fraction on the hundredths grid and place value chart. Third one is to say the decimal. Fourth one is to represent the decimal on the number line and label the equivalent fraction on top of the number line. We are going to pause. You're going to watch. I have my model. So I'm getting out my red pen. You're just pausing. You're watching. The first one says write 37 hundredths in decimal form and then place it on the number line. So I'm going to decompose that fraction and I'm going to write it as tenths and hundredths. So I have 3 tenths, because there's 30 of them, that's 3 tenths plus 7 hundredths. Okay, so I've decomposed it. Now I'm going to write the decomposed fraction on the hundredths grid and place value chart. So if I have a hundredths grid, okay, I have my hundredths grid. I'm going to shade in 3 tenths. So 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, and now I need to shade in 7 hundredths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and now I need to write it on the hundredths, at the place value chart. So I have 0 ones in my decimal. I have 3 in the tenths place, and I have 7 in the hundredths place. So now I'm going to say the decimal, 37 hundredths. I'm going to represent that decimal on the number line, and I'm going to label the equivalent fraction on top. So if I go from 0 to 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, this is 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and 1. If I have, I'm going to use my pencil again because I can get smaller. I'm just going to label 10 spots and 10 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right there would be 37 hundredths, which is also equal to 37 hundredths. And you're not writing that, I just wrote it so it would stand out. Okay, and then I'm done with that problem. My next problem says to write 6/10 plus 8 hundredths in decimal form, then place the number on the number line. So it says to decompose the fraction. That's already done for us, but I'm going to actually solve for that. So if I add 6/10, that's the same as saying 60 hundredths. So I have 60 hundredths plus 8 hundredths, which is 68 hundredths. Okay, so I need to write the decomposed fraction on the hundredths grid. Oops, sorry. So I have 6 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 68 hundredths, or 68 hundredths. I need to have that in the hundredths place, my tenths place, and then I have my decimal. Okay, this is read as 68 hundredths. So I've said the decimal. Now I need to represent that on a number line. So if I go from 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and then a whole in between 6 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right here, and I'm going to use the green again to make it stand out. Right there, that is my 68 hundredths, or 68 hundredths. Okay, and we are done with that problem. So now I'm going to get out my guided practice. You're going to follow along. The first one is 71 hundredths. And the first step is to decompose the fraction and write it as tenths and hundredths. So I have 7 tenths plus 1 100th. Now I need to write that fraction on the hundredths grid. Okay. To make your hundredths grid, you do 9 lines across, 9 up and down. Okay, I'm going to count to 70. shade in 7/10. Now one more. So I have shaded in 71/100 or 71/100. So I need to have my hundreds place, my tens place, and my decimals. So I have 71/100. I have now said my decimal. Now I need to represent that on the number line. So 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and then one whole. You are still writing these tallies in between 7 and 8 because that's where 7/100 falls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it's only going up to that first one right here. That spot is 71/100 or 71/100. Okay, our next problem is 8/10 plus 2/100. That is equal to 82/100. We're gonna put that on our hundreds grid. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow, that was not even today. Sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I'm gonna shade in 8 of them. Again, not very even today. And 2 more. So I have 82/100 or 82/100 shaded in, and then I'm going to do my number line. On my number line, I need 9 spaces or 9 tallies in between to make up my tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10. Lies in between 8 and 9. Again, 9 more tallies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 82. So I'm going to that second line. It's right there. That's 82/100 or 82/100. Okay, that is all for our steps in my modeling. You now have 1, 200 problems, and then rate your understanding.